Are you tired of chasing golden shadows? Do you believe wealth is a capricious gift reserved for a select few while you struggle in the quicksand of scarcity? Stop, breathe, look beyond paper money, beyond the illusory numbers in a bank account. If you've come this far, it's not by accident. It's because your soul has vibrated high enough to hear the whisper of a forbidden truth, a truth that modernity has disguised as superficial self-help, stripping it of its original alchemical power. The fundamental question isn't, how do I get more money? The real question, the one that shakes the foundations of your reality, is, why have I been programmed to reject abundance, even though my conscious mind cries out for it? Today, we will cross the threshold. Today, we will stop treating money as an end in itself and begin to recognize it for what it truly is: energy, densified, measurable, a direct manifestation of your inner vibrational state. If your financial life is chaotic, it is because your inner temple has been in disarray. Money is nothing more than the most honest reflection of your personal alchemy. You've tried superficial methods, empty visualization, mindless repetition, but those are just patches on a cracked structure. I offer you the inner map, the only guide you need to dismantle the gilded cage you've built around yourself, brick by brick, with fear and unconscious guilt. Understanding money as energy completely transforms your perception of the esoteric universe. It frees you from the myth of divine punishment and confronts you with the immutable law of reflection. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are, and what you are, at a subconscious level, is a code encoded by generations of scarcity, by invisible pacts of loyalty to the poverty of your lineage, by childhood wounds that decreed you were not worthy of universal abundance. This path is not easy. It demands brutal honesty. It demands that you let go of comfortable lies. Throughout this profound revelation, we will unveil the hidden mechanisms that have sabotaged your flow. First, we will delve into the dark laboratory of your unconscious programming. We will identify how the narratives of your parents, grandparents, and society have written the script for your financial failure before you even knew how to add. We will reveal the concept of invisible loyalty, that treacherous allegiance to ancestral deprivation that compels you to repeat patterns of misery, not out of necessity, but out of unconscious belonging. Second, we will dissect the energy blockages. Money, being energy, flows through certain power centers in your body. When fear takes root, when guilt becomes entrenched, these channels close. You will learn to locate and dissolve this financial resistance that you yourself have created, allowing the flow of prosperity to pass through you unobstructed. Third, we will reveal the formula for vibrational reprogramming through pure emotion. Intellectual clarity is not enough. You must transform your core emotion. Money follows the path of emotion. If your dominant emotion is lack, fear, jealousy, resentment, no matter how hard you work, you will always repel abundance. Gratitude is not just a pretty word. It is the magnetic key, the state of being that attunes you to the frequency of wealth. This knowledge is alchemy. It is the transformation of the lead of your fear into the gold of your freedom. It is not a promise of instant, effortless wealth. It is a promise of inner awakening that will inevitably manifest as external and sustainable wealth. If you're ready to leave behind charlatanism and superficiality, if you're willing to gaze into the abyss of your programming to rewrite your destiny, if you wish to take complete control of your vibrational frequency and claim your inheritance as a co-creator of the universe's infinite abundance, then you must perform your first act of will, your first decree. To seal this initiatory pact, to declare your commitment to truth and mastery over your energy, subscribe to this channel so that this wisdom is not lost in the noise of the world. Activate the notification so that the light guides you at the precise moment, and above all, declare your intention in the comments. Write the decree and do it with the conviction of one who has decided to awaken. I seek the truth. Let the journey of inner alchemy begin now. Enter with me into Act 1, the discovery. Now delve into the profound essence of currency. Do not conceive of it as mere paper or digits on an accounting ledger, but as the tangible manifestation of universal energy in a state of flow, a current, from which its name derives, that must circulate freely to sustain life and creation. This energy, identical to Hindu prana, Eastern chi, or the Sufi ruh, is the same life force that animates your body and orchestrates the galaxies. When we call it money, we are simply assigning a human label to a vibrational exchange. Wealth is not the static possession of accumulations, but the dynamic ability to interact with this flow, to attract it, distribute it, and allow it to flow through you without attachment or resistance. The ancient Eleusinian mysteries and the Pythagorean schools taught that poverty was a symptom of disconnection from the cosmic pulse, not a lack of external opportunity. Lack, then, is a state of resonance, a frequency signature that repels matter. You must understand that your central nervous system is an energy transducer, a tuning device more sophisticated than any satellite dish. What you feel, fear, hope, resentment, gratitude, determines the wavelength at which you operate, and money, as neutral and intelligent energy, simply responds to the law of harmonic resonance. If you vibrate at the frequency of scarcity, which is the frequency of stagnation and immobility, you will attract reflections of that same immobility, blocking the flow that is rightfully yours. The mechanics of this resonance transcend the psychological. They delve into the quantum realm. Consider your monetary intention not as a wish, but as a probability wave collapsing into reality. Physics teaches us that until a particle is observed, it exists in a state of superposition, of infinite possibilities. Your consciousness is the observer. Money, in its unmanifest form, resides in this field of infinite potential until your coherent consciousness observes it and anchors it in physical reality. The error of the uninitiated mind is to observe and focus on the current reality of scarcity, reinforcing that frequency and condemning the future to be a replica of the past. True financial alchemy requires that you maintain the vision of abundance as a certainty already existing in the quantum field, and that you adjust your emotion, your vibration, to match the desired outcome. This is known in Hermetic texts as the law of correspondence. As above, so below, as the inner vibration, so the outer manifestation. Physical currency is merely the shadow, the trace left by a much deeper and more subtle energy transfer. Mastery lies not in handling the symbol, money, but in governing the energetic substance that fuels it. And here we arrive at the turning point. The revelation that the architects of the current financial system have worked for centuries to conceal the great historical distortion of the flow. In ancient Sumerian and Babylonian civilizations, the concept of debt was not primarily an economic obligation, but a karmic or vibrational record, an energetic imbalance that had to be rebalanced to restore harmony with the earth and the cosmos. But the manipulators of power understood that if they could decouple money from vital energy and link it to fear and artificial obligation, usury, compound interest, they could establish a perpetual low-frequency control mechanism. The creation of money through debt, the current fiat system, is not just an economic mechanism, it is a weapon of massive vibrational control. This system is designed to keep the majority of the population focused on lack and the fear of insolvency. This low frequency is the fuel that sustains the power structures. The truth is that modern debt is a psychic chain, an anchor that prevents the sovereignty of flow. The knowledge I offer you now is that you shouldn't fight against money, but against the programmed fear surrounding it. Your true liberation begins when you recognize that the system operates best when you vibrate at a low frequency. Financial sovereignty is, therefore, identical to emotional and spiritual sovereignty. The true master of money is not the one who accumulates vast reserves, but the one who maintains impeccable vibrational coherence, regardless of external circumstances. How is this inner alchemy achieved? By transforming fear, envy, judgment, and guilt, the emotions that act as dams on the flow, into high-frequency pillars: purpose, gratitude, generosity, and certainty. Purpose is not what you do to earn money. It is the frequency of your existence, the fundamental reason for your being that resonates with universal intelligence. When you operate from purpose, money is not a goal to pursue, but a natural and inevitable byproduct of the harmonic resonance you emit. True wealth is the coherence between your inner world and the external pulse of the cosmos. This process demands a brutal self-evaluation, a dive into the depths of your psyche to identify and dismantle vows of poverty, ancestral loyalties to scarcity, and the limiting beliefs implanted in you since childhood. It's time to stop begging for crumbs of external opportunity and to claim the fullness of your energetic inheritance. We have dismantled the illusion that money is a limited resource. You now know it is an infinite flow that responds directly to your vibrational state. You understand that the current system benefits from your low frequency, and that true wealth is a manifestation of emotional sovereignty. However, this understanding is incomplete without knowledge of how the archetypes of power have encoded these truths in the physical world for their own exclusive use. It is not enough to simply feel and vibrate. It is vital to understand the symbolic architecture of their control. Why are the temples of financial power, central banks, stock exchanges, designed with sacred geometry, using Doric columns and dark symbols? What do the engravings and symbols on coins and banknotes reveal about their origin and true purpose? Behind the facade of economics lies the esoteric cartography of power. We must now decipher this silent code to see not only the energy, but also the structure that contains and directs it. The next step in our journey will take us directly to the heart of the elite and their manipulation of symbolism. Are you ready to penetrate the matrix of coding and see the hidden truths within the architecture that dominates your world? We have pierced the curtain of external symbolism, that coded geometry that underpins the framework of financial reality. But now we must descend into the true control room, the human subconscious, the fertile ground where all your limitations and fears germinate. Your limiting beliefs are not intrinsic truths of the cosmos. They are implanted narratives, seeds of doubt sown in the virgin soil of your psyche when consciousness was still malleable and porous. This programming began long before you could discern truth from fiction, employing the subtlest and most pervasive tools: the constant repetition of scarcity in the media, the glorification of excessive effort as the only path to sainthood, and the dogma of the immutable hierarchy that dictates only a select few deserve abundance. The unconscious mind, that vast and silent library that records every whisper and every trauma, makes no distinction between a real experience and a vividly maintained fantasy. You simply accept the information you receive with the greatest emotional charge and frequency of repetition as immutable law. Thus, your internal operating system, the one that dictates your vibration and, therefore, your manifestation, has been infiltrated by faulty codes that bind you to a perpetual cycle of self-sabotage and restriction. You must understand that liberating fortune is not just about wanting more money. It's about dismantling the invisible architecture of the mental prison that forces you to reject it even when it comes your way, fearful of the responsibility or judgment that wealth or personal sovereignty implies according to the dictates of your former programmers. The dynamics of unconscious programming are an ancient art of frequency manipulation, known to ancient initiates and grimly detailed in hermetic fragments that refer to the archons, techniques for maintaining energetic confinement. These architects of illusion understood that the most effective way to control human beings was not through physical force, but through the distortion of self-concept and the saturation of the emotional field with guilt and unworthiness. Observe how the narratives of your childhood, fairy tales and fables often instill the idea that happiness is a prize earned through suffering or renunciation, perpetuating the martyr archetype. This systematic social engineering acts as a constant feedback loop that blocks access to your own personal Akashic records, where your uncorrupted life plan resides. Every time you tell yourself, "This is too good to be true," or "I'm not smart or worthy enough," it's not you speaking. It is the voice of the program that protects its hegemony. The key to deprogramming lies in identifying these external voices and tracing their emotional origin. The limiting belief solidifies at the exact moment a high-impact emotion, shame, abandonment, fear, seals the narrative on your psychic hard drive. It is a silent contract of restriction that must be consciously abrogated. Herein lies the turning point, the revelation that dismantles the core of your programming. Your most devastating limiting belief is not the scarcity of resources, but the illusion of separation from the creative source, from your inherent divinity, which has been actively maintained through the modulation of planetary frequencies. You have been taught to believe that you are flawed, that you were born in sin, or that you are inherently incapable of wielding the power that you truly are. And this belief has been reinforced through subtle electromagnetic fields that dampen your original resonance, the so-called veils of Maya imposed by the Matrix controllers. True wealth is sovereignty over your own frequency, and the elite do not fear your money. They fear your awakening to the truth that you are infinite co-creators. This is why the programming focuses on distorting the concept of deserving. The ancestral wisdom of women and the intuitive connection to the cosmic flow were erased precisely because intuition is the frequency detector that immediately exposes the lie of separation. When you feel undeserving of love, health, or abundance, you are accepting the master lie that creation is limited and that you are a design flaw, a position diametrically opposed to the truth of your holographic and omnipotent nature. This deep contextualization requires us to analyze the narratives that have imprisoned you. Consider the myth of Sisyphus, the condemnation to ceaseless and endless effort, a perfect metaphor for the modern work system that instills the belief that value lies in fatigue, not inspiration or efficiency, or the religious insistence that poverty is a virtue, a code historically implanted to ensure that the masses do not challenge the accumulation of wealth in the hands of the few, using the nobility of suffering as a moral anchor for misery. These are not coincidences. They are archetypal patterns designed to maintain the low-frequency resonance that fuels the control structure. Your task now is to subject every thought that causes you friction, every automatic reaction of fear or doubt, to rigorous scrutiny. Ask yourselves, where did this thought come from? Whom does it serve? If a thought diminishes you or limits your scope of action, you can be sure that it is not your original thought, but a residual echo of the collective program. You must take on the role of the psychic archaeologist, unearthing layer upon layer of cultural, familial, and media narratives that prevent you from manifesting the fullness of your vibrational potential. The final release from these bonds requires a rewriting of the essential code, an act of inner alchemy that transforms the toxic belief into a new imperative of sovereignty. Awareness is the light that dissolves the shadow of programming. By identifying the emotional origin of the limiting belief, for example, childhood abandonment manifests as the belief that money will also abandon you, you can offer a new narrative to that wounded part of yourself, rewriting the energetic contract. Fear is the guardian of limitation, and only loving and firm confrontation with your inner demons will allow you to transcend it. Transformation is not passive, it is a deliberate act of self-reclaiming. You have seen how the external architecture, the symbolism encoded in the economy, seeks to control your behavior. Now you understand how the internal architecture, your beliefs, determines your experience. But how do we access the source of our true identity, that pristine, unprogrammed being that existed before the first imposed limitation? What method of deep silence reveals the original resonance, allowing us to hear the truth beyond the echoes of the matrix? The method of deep silence is not an absence of sound, but the saturation of consciousness with the resonance of the source, direct access to the pristine record of your being before the interference of the programmed ego. When the mental clamor of lack subsides, you can discern the true architecture of your resistance. What you perceive as an individual financial block is rarely yours, but rather a transgenerational Akashic debt or an inherited karmic contract operating from the subtle plane of the family psyche. The concept of samsara, often misunderstood as a generic cycle of rebirths, operates on the economic plane as the compulsive repetition of scarcity patterns that your lineage never managed to transcend. Your grandparents feared famine, your parents feared bankruptcy, and you, though surrounded by potential opulence in the digital ecosystem, fear instability. This fear is an energetic imprint that acts as a repulsive force field against the natural flow of abundance. Hidden wisdom teaches that resistance is not an external brick wall, but an internal vibrational pattern that insists on limitation as a fundamental identity. To dismantle these blocks, you must first acknowledge the uncomfortable truth. You are the current custodians of a legacy of unresolved financial trauma. The alchemy of wealth begins with the conscious dissolution of this energetic inheritance. You must ask your inner void, what oath of scarcity or struggle have you been unconsciously honoring, engraved in the subtle matrix of your family tree? Stillness allows you to read the fine lines of that invisible contract that binds your prosperity. Financial resistance is, in essence, a subconscious loyalty to the hardship, toil, or restriction suffered by your ancestors. This loyalty must be revoked through willpower. Delving deeper into the investigative dynamics, we must address the blood poverty contract. Modern science touches upon this truth with epigenetics, demonstrating how traumas are encoded and transmitted at the cellular level across generations, altering gene expression. However, the esoteric perspective is far more severe. There exists a silent oath within family systems that conditions survival on the restriction or concealment of wealth. If an ancestor openly prospered and was punished for it, whether socially, through envy, or by the violent loss of their possessions, the collective psyche of the lineage establishes that security lies in financial mediocrity or perpetual effort without excessive reward. Your reluctance to receive large sums, to maintain wealth without experiencing the need for immediate self-sabotage, is not a lack of ability, but the manifestation of this limiting protection program. It is the clan soul whispering from the depths. If you rise too high, you will be cut down or punished. This teaching was veiled in the Gnostic texts, which spoke of the archons not only as external entities of control, but as the internal structures of the collective mind that feed on the low vibration of guilt and inadequacy. Breaking this contract requires an act of symbolic reversal, declaring your sovereignty over the clan's unspoken obligations. You must draw the line where the debt of your past ends and the vibrational freedom of your future begins. This work is not merely psychological. It is the soul's renegotiation with its lineage, affirming that the bloodline gave you life. But it should not dictate the resonance of your manifestation. The ancient sages encoded this struggle in archaic symbolism, offering keys to its resolution. Consider the Ouroboros, the serpent that bites its own tail. In esotericism, it represents the eternal cycle or cosmic unity. In inner teaching, specifically applied to energy economy, the Ouroboros represents the self-devouring cycle of debt and the cyclical manifestation of lack that feeds on aimless striving. The individual struggles, gains a little, sabotages themselves, and must begin again. a perfection in the repetition of perpetual failure. But here lies the turning point, the revelation that must shake the foundations of your beliefs about prosperity. The deepest block is not tangible scarcity in the external world, but the unconscious idolization of struggle itself as a moral value. Many of you have been programmed through age-old dogmas to believe that the intrinsic value of your existence is linked to suffering, to the earning your bread by the sweat of your brow of the Abrahamic texts, misinterpreted to the point of exhaustion. If ease comes to you naturally, you doubt its authenticity or feel guilt. Financial resistance is, therefore, a denial of pleasure and an acceptance of suffering as the only morally valid path to existential merit. The law of polarity in the Kybalion teaches us that wealth and scarcity are simply degrees on the same scale. But if your identity is firmly anchored at the pole of struggle, your subconscious mind will reject any movement toward the pole of ease, seeing it as a betrayal of the fighter you have cultivated. True alchemy, then, is dismantling the altar erected to hardship. If you release the need to suffer in order to be worthy, the financial block dissolves. Not because money magically appears, but because the resistance to ease disappears from your vibrational field. The art of sovereign disidentification is the practical step toward breaking the idolatry of suffering. You must cease being the self that suffers for money and adopt the posture of the unlimited observer that resides in your pristine core. The lost manuscripts of Alexandria, fragments preserved by certain hermetic orders, describe the inner ritual of the vow of reversion. This is not an external vow pronounced in the physical world, but an internal and resonant declaration that nullifies all contracts of limitation signed in this life and in past lives, whether due to lineage, trauma, or collective fear. The process is surgically precise. You identify the thought or emotion of lack. I am not enough to hold on to this prosperity. This is not possible for me. And instead of arguing with it, fighting against it or suppressing it, you observe it as a separate entity, a psychic parasite fed by old programming. Then you apply the firm rejection from the center of your being. I, your essential and sovereign name, revoke every agreement that binds my manifestation to hardship, excessive effort, or punishment. My worth is intrinsic and non-negotiable, regardless of any external figure. This is not an act of blind faith, but an exercise of Christ's will, an affirmation of the greater law of unity over the lesser law of the illusion of material duality. Financial sovereignty is not about having a specific amount. It is about ensuring that your state of being is not altered by the presence or temporary absence of zeros in a bank account. It is mastery over the emotional reaction to material fluctuations, and this is the only stance that dissolves energetic blockages at their root, because it strips the blockage of its only power, your fearful attention committed to its narrative. Having confronted systemic inheritance, unconscious sabotage, and the idolization of struggle as merit, you are now on the threshold of understanding the true, ultimate nature of the blockage. Financial resistance is a highly effective form of temporary manipulation. By forcing you to struggle and focus all your energy on subsistence, the system, both external and internal, anchors you to the immediate present of need and survival, preventing the expansion of your consciousness toward long-term manifestation and the understanding of your multidimensionality. But financial sovereignty, once you have regained control over this primary flow, is only the first step toward great liberation. It is the indicator that you have transcended the base programming. But what happens when the flow is so vast, so constant, and so assured by your inner resonance that the concept of money as a physical exchange of scarcity becomes obsolete? What is the true currency of the universe that underlies all material and energetic exchange? And how do we activate it in its purest and most unlimited form, beyond the need for gold or fiat currency? This is the next veil we must lift on our journey, Moment of alchemy. Now, before the path reveals the nature of cosmic exchange, a moment of pause is necessary. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel the tension in your body, the tension that arises precisely when you think about money and the effort associated with it. Identify the exact spot in your solar plexus or your back where that ancestral loyalty to struggle resides. Ask yourself, in the silence of your core, what real price am I paying for continuing to be the hero or the suffering victim in my own story of scarcity? Allow that truth to rise from the depths, without judgment. Simply observing the imprint of the old contract, we leave the realm of transactional flow and descend into the crypt of lineage. Money was merely a symptom, a physical reflection of a much deeper bond that imprisons you, the invisible loyalty. This is not a conscious choice. It is a silent oath inscribed in the plasma of your psychic DNA, an ironclad loyalty to the narratives of suffering, scarcity, or sacrifice that defined the lives of your ancestors. Every time you approach fulfillment, success not earned through sweat and blood, a cold, precise gravitational force pulls you back to the point of origin of the struggle. This is because, unconsciously, your prosperity would negate the value of your father's struggle or your grandmother's tragedy. Your effortless abundance would be perceived as an insult to their spent lives. The subconscious mind, programmed to honor the blood pact, perceives ease as betrayal and wealth without struggle as an act of insolence toward the foundational sacrifice of the lineage. This loyalty is the most subtle of jailers because it disguises itself as humility, work ethic, or fear of success, when in reality it is the manifestation of a karmic debt, not your own, but inherited, a contract of servitude to the cycle of hardship that you must identify before you can break free. Your soul, though individual, carries the weight of 100 lifetimes. Financial failure or constant self-limitation is often the tribute you pay for membership in that shadow brotherhood, fulfilling the mandate to keep the memory of pain alive so that it is not forgotten, so that the clan does not disintegrate into oblivion. It is time to examine the psychic chains that bind you to a past you did not even live and that compel you to repeat dramas that are not yours to bear. How does this invisible contract, this unspoken agreement of suffering, Shiku, reveal itself? It manifests as systematic self-sabotage, the self-imposed glass ceiling that always prevents you from crossing a certain income threshold, or the inexplicable need to lose everything right after reaching the top, as if an internal sensor were constantly adjusting your calibration to the pain accepted by the system. The ancients understood this as the curse of the ninth aeon, where patterns of lack, ruin, or betrayal inexorably repeat themselves every few generations, forcing the repetition of the original mistake to ensure that the lesson, or penance, is not forgotten. You must look for clues in the recurring traumatic events in your family, cyclical financial ruins triggered by the same circumstances, illnesses that appear at the same age in different branches, or the constant feeling that you don't deserve peace or opulence without prior punishment. Invisible loyalty uses your deepest honor and desire for belonging against you, instrumentalizing guilt. If your grandfather lost his fortune to a disloyal partner, your unconscious mind may recreate dynamics of extreme distrust, preventing prosperous partnerships necessary for growth, or worse, driving you to become the disloyal partner or the betrayed one to fulfill the prophecy of loss, thus keeping the pattern alive and the pain acknowledged. This is the chain of Kronos, the devourer of time, ensuring that the past not only repeats itself but also consumes your potential future. To free yourselves, you must first name the ghosts that demanded your oath, those ancestors whose lives of suffering have been unwittingly sanctified as the only worthy path to be lived. Hermetic wisdom and certain hidden fragments of the Nag Hammadi manuscripts dealing with epignosis, true knowledge that dismantles the error of perception, offer a revealing framework for understanding this bondage. The texts speak of the Akashic records of the clan, not as a passive record of information, but as an active, energetic matrix that imposes dimensional and emotional restrictions on all its current members, a kind of operating program that ensures the survival of trauma. Herein lies the critical revelation, the turning point, which must be assimilated. Invisible loyalty not only punishes you for prosperity, but the ancestral clan, the souls that have not yet transcended, energetically feeds on your continuous suffering. Your constant effort, your incessant struggle for survival and limitation generates a low-frequency vibration, an emotional tribute that keeps the ancestral matrix stable, preventing these souls from finding rest or transcending their own errors and debts. You are, unknowingly, the living battery of a cycle of perpetual pain, the karmic extension of unresolved regret. By breaking the pattern of scarcity and attaining full sovereignty, you not only free yourselves from hardship, but you also offer true liberation and rest to your ancestors, an act of love and sovereignty far deeper than mere ceremonial honor or mourning. True honor is transcendence, not the repetition of the cycle. Those who achieved true inner and outer wealth in ancient times, the great alchemists, first broke this psychic pact, performing rites of sacred disengagement, where they declared their dimensional sovereignty and their refusal to be the suffering extension of an alien past. Understand this: your scarcity is not a divine test of humility, but the result of an unresolved family contract that guarantees the energetic subsistence of emotional ghosts. The greatest impediment to dissolving this loyalty is moral fear. Invisible, loyalty instills the belief that being happy, prosperous, and living without overwhelming effort is disloyal or frivolous compared to the hardship of those who came before you. If grandfather worked in the mines until he died, or if grandmother survived a war losing everything, how can you generate abundance through pleasure and creativity, living light lives, without feeling a pang of punitive guilt that demands you return to austerity? The paradox is devastating. You desperately try to escape scarcity, but your internal programming works with the same desperation to keep you inside it, because struggle, sacrifice, and limitation are the accepted language of love, the test of your worth within the clan. To become the ancestral renegade, the one who breaks the mold and dares to be the first to be free, you must accept the burden of initial guilt that the family system, through its living members and the resonating shadows, will try to impose upon you. They will attempt to readjust your orbit using judgment, envy, or criticism, because your light disturbs their comfortable darkness. This is the moment where your inner alchemy must be unwavering and your decision absolute. You must rewrite the definition of honor at your core. To honor is not to suffer equally. To honor is to heal the cycle so that the subsequent timeline can flourish without the burden. It is an act of profound, revolutionary compassion, where you declare, "The pain of my ancestors does not define my potential, and my happiness does not invalidate their sacrifice. On the contrary, my sovereignty redeems it, ending the debt." This conscious separation is the fire that dissolves the shadow contract, freeing your energy that has been invested in keeping alive a prefabricated story of scarcity. Complete detachment is a vibrational and energetic process, not merely a mental exercise in forgiveness or understanding. It requires the activation of the frequency of origin, the pure resonance of the soul before incarnation, and the acquisition of lineage karma, the 0 point of your pure consciousness. You have identified the origin of your lack on the material plane, money as a symptom, and on the psychic plane, unseen loyalty as the immediate cause. Now, one last veil remains, the most subtle and perhaps the most challenging, the one that transcends blood and family name. Once you have declared your sovereignty over the ancestors and released the energetic flow that was stuck in family debt, how do you ensure that your consciousness is not reabsorbed by the larger cycle of time and the planetary collective karma that transcends the immediate family? What happens when the released and regenerated energy is so vast, so powerful, that it threatens to overflow the limits of your physical body and the confines of your three-dimensional reality, attracting external forces that seek to rebalance that abundance toward the norm of scarcity? Invisible fidelity is only a micro-ecosystem within the macro contract that governs human existence on this plane. What is the source code of the matrix that manages this vast network of suffering contracts affecting all souls? And how, once freed from the family chain, do we intercept and rewrite the demiurge codes that dictate the law of limitation and linear time in the totality of earthly experience? The answer lies in the geometry of pure intention and in the understanding that chronological time is, in itself, the ultimate prison. We have journeyed through the lineage to the origin of time. Understand this. Scarcity is not an economic condition, but a vibrational frequency administered by the tyrant of linear time. The demiurge, the architect of limitation, can only impose his codes, the contracts of suffering, as long as you believe the past has power over your present. The only way to rewrite his law is by eradicating linearity. The geometry of pure intention is the fractal design of your higher self manifesting without delay. Your sovereignty is consolidated not only by freeing yourselves from ancestral debt and invisible fidelity, but by declaring your present as the sole point of reality, thereby dissolving all past and future contracts. When you operate from the timelessness of the eternal now, the law of cause and effect exists only in chronology, and the demiurge's codes break down, lacking any temporal anchor. Your abundance is intrinsic to your timeless existence. True wealth is the awareness that you are the source, not a begging recipient in a linear flow. Mastery is replacing the line, chronos, with the point, kairos. At this point of absolute power, you are free. Now that you possess the map to dissolve time as a prison, I ask you, how does abundance truly feel when you know it is not something to be acquired in the future, but a state that you are eternally? Leave your vision of manifested timelessness in the comments. I read you in resonance. This knowledge is not to be kept to yourself. It has been released for humanity. If these truths resonated deep within your soul, share this video now. Make it a map for other seeking souls still struggling under the weight of ancestral debt and the prison of time. Subscribe to the channel, and to ensure that no portal ever closes before you, activate the sacred destiny, the notification bell. It is your decree of commitment to continuous expansion. We have dismantled the family matrix and the demiurge's code. The next step is the physical integration of this frequency of unlimited wealth. On the screen to the side, you will see the portal for the next stage, the alchemy of the light body, anchoring timeless wealth. Click now and continue your ascent. To delay is to risk the portal closing and the shadow of inertia claiming you. Your ascension is immediate.